series here, we're going to talk about a subject that comes to mind, and that is Law 2. And this is in the Laws of Power. For those of you that don't know, Law 2 is do not trust your friends and learn to use your enemies. And when it comes to this right here, basically I'm going to use Tariq and the Tejadas as an example. When it comes down to it, when Tariq first met the Tejadas, he never really let them know who he really was. He came there with Zeke because the reason why he was there with Zeke was because he was tutoring Zeke and helping Zeke pretty much with the things he does. Zeke is just playing basketball, but Tariq is the one who's keeping everything going in terms of, keeping things moving with his grades, keeping him in school. With that being said, Zeke introduced him to his family because of a party that was being held for him. And when he got there, he met the Tejadas. He scoped everything out, see what was going on. Diana immediately liked him. Drew was Drew. And Kane immediately showed who he was, showing he was a muscle. With some drama going down at the house, Tariq knew that something was going on, things were going on, but he didn't quite know every single thing. Eventually, talking to Zeke and talking with them, Zeke telling him that's his family and that's not him. They do things and he don't do them and things of that nature, and he should not really want to get involved with them. But Tariq did. Tariq slowly but surely got involved with the Tejadas, showing up at their house, when Zeke was there quietly and just chilling and seeing things, moving around, watching everything. When it comes down to it, Tariq was the one who saw Uncle Frank for who he was, telling him he was an informant. And pretty much remember this, the Tejadas looked at Tariq like he was just there to help Zeke, like he was one of Zeke's friends. He's one of Zeke's, people from college. He said helping him with school. He ain't know nothing. But, Tariq really showed who he really was over time, especially with the Uncle Frank situation. When this time went on, Tariq wanted to, work with Monet. He got involved with her, and basically he told her what he is and what he could do, and he did exactly everything he said he could do. Now with Kane looked at Tariq like he was an enemy, but Tariq outsmarts Kane every time and uses him to his advantage, mainly making himself look bad most of the time. Drew is in the middle, but Drew is the most dangerous Tejada, believe it or not. He really is. Diana is in love with Tariq, but not so in love with him that she would betray her own father for him, as we saw in season 2. My whole thing is though, is that when Tariq came to the Tejadas, he never showed who he really was. And still right now to this day, they truly don't know who he was or how much stuff he was involved with. They don't know his whole story. He's still a bit of a mystery to them. And even Monet says Tariq has an upper hand over them, which is something she doesn't like. She wants to control him more. She wants to put him beneath her more. But it's something that she can't do because Tariq knows, he's been around a lot of people. Tariq has been around Ghost. He's been around Kanan. He's been around Tommy. He's been around Tasha. He's been around Drew. He's been around, so many different gangsters. Vincent. He has been around, Ray Ray. He's been around Jukebox. He's been around so many criminals. So when you're dealing with a person that's like Tariq, who's coming from that all the way to who he is now, the Tejadas is kind of like a cakewalk. But the only people who can really compete with Tariq or watch him like that really is Lorenzo and Monet, and they really can't even control him. So when I'm trying to tell you guys is this right here. Learn to use your enemies. Always be a step ahead. Never tell nobody too much about you. Never show too much about you, which is something Tariq has not done. We know about Tariq. We know about him, but the Tejadas do not really know too much about him still. All they know is that he makes the money for them. He does his thing. Diana likes him. Kane is jealous of him. Drew, I want to say, is more watchful of him than he admits. Monet, on the other hand, is, she's alert to who Tariq is and what he is. And I think Lorenzo is as well. But when it comes down to it, Tariq never showed them who they were, and that's something you should do. Now, in terms of never trusting your friends, you got to be careful with that because both Braden and Effie have showed their hands several times, with Braden making mistakes like riding along with Kane behind Tariq's back, and even Effie making moves behind Tariq's back to pretty much take Lauren take her out. But you trust your friends, but don't trust them so much. Even if you love them, even if you're close to them, you always got to have something you don't say, because certain things are meant to be said at certain times and certain things are not meant to be said at all. So you got to be careful, because today's friend could be tomorrow's enemy and your worst enemy. And what's worse than an enemy that knows a lot about you? A lot of men and women suffer from this because your exes are sometimes your worst enemy when it comes down to it, or just one of many enemies that you have in life. So the one thing I want to say to all of you is basically this right here. Learn from Tariq. Even though he works with the Tejadas, even though they're 2 seasons in going into 3, they still don't know much about him. He hasn't told them everything about him, and he always stay ahead and learn from Effie and Braden, because you can't truly tell them everything, because even they will have things they will hide from you, even though they got your back, even though they love you, and even though they are doing everything, to stand with you. So when it comes down to it, just telling you guys the truth. But that right there is Law 2, right here in the Law of Power, the Laws of Power series. I just want to say to all of you, it's your boy Bobby Beast here. I just want to say much love, much respect. Hold it down. And 1. Here's your boy Bobby Beast
Quote
here.
King.
Remember these words from the Bible: an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, a hand for a hand, and a foot for a foot. Do unto others as they do unto you, and faith without works are dead. These are the main things that you need to remember. So whenever someone plays with you and you being a good person, remember these things. Remember when you're thinking you have faith but you're not doing no work. Remember these things. You are going to have to learn how to be strong, and you're going to have to learn how to do the work. It is never going to be easy, and guess what? It's okay. That's pretty much what I got to say to you. Do your thing and have faith. Remember these words from the Bible: